Hey everyone, long time no talk. Welcome back to Mind Keys. So good to see you all. Hope you're doing well. So in my time away from the channel, in case you haven't noticed, I hadn't posted in over a month now. I've been taking a lot of time to study and read and take courses and learn as much as I can about the different models and approaches to working with psychedelics for personal healing and personal growth as we currently understand it here in 2022, so that I can better communicate and share with you what it is that I've been learning and help you understand how to grow, how to heal, how to transform, and especially looking at what are the kind of missing corners and pieces that I think should be spoken about more that may be kind of absent from what you're learning in terms of information streams around psychedelics if you're one of these people who's kind of constantly learning about them and how to work with them and how to use them. So I wanted to just kind of get caught up with you, get back here on the channel, talk with you more about all the things I've been learning, share with you some insights, and help you to really start to understand, at least from a different perspective, if nothing else, an additional point of view on how to use psychedelics for personal growth, personal healing, personal transformation, and really start to level up and use these tools to the fullest. So let's go ahead and get into it. And just super briefly, for anyone who may be new to the channel, who may not be familiar with me, my name is Dave. I'm a coach in the psychedelic space. I come at it from a different point of view in that I'm trained as a hypnotherapist and an NLP practitioner. So I'm a little bit of a different perspective on psychedelics. I also have a lot of personal history, decades worth, when it comes to taking psychedelics recreationally and therapeutically for self-healing. So that's kind of what I'm bringing to the table here on this channel and in these discussions. I don't want to talk too much about myself, so let's go ahead and get into the main content of the video for now. So for a reconnection video with you, the audience, I wanted to start with what is an incredibly important topic, which is setting intentions and how to do that and why we do that. So this is one of those things that is kind of a given, no matter who you're listening to. If you're kind of learning about how to use psychedelics well, you'll commonly hear about setting intentions, and you may not even be totally clear on what that is or why we would do that. You know, what's the use in that? Why is that kind of an established thing to do when it comes to working with psychedelics? Well, I wanted to kind of give you a bit more information on why that is and how that works and help you unpack and understand a bit about setting intentions. Because when it comes to the set and setting, the very basics of harm reduction with psychedelics, intention setting is basically your set part of that equation. It's the biggest piece of kind of adjusting your mindset to be ready to heal, to have an altered experience, to transform your consciousness and kind of open yourself up. So let's talk a bit about why exactly and how exactly intention setting is done. There's a few key points I really want you to take away from this video. And just in general, I want to kind of give you a deeper, more clear understanding of it so that you're not just like, oh yeah, that's the thing to do, but you know why it's the thing to do. Okay, so when it comes to intention setting, why do we do this? How is this useful? And is it really necessary when it comes to working with psychedelics? I think these are really kind of important, fair, very fundamental questions to answer. And, you know, to be truthful with you, I have my own bias in the forms of trainings that I've taken and the kind of perspectives I've taken in about what being a human being is and how the mind works. So I'm definitely coming from a hypnotherapist kind of perspective on this in terms of thinking of unconscious mind and conscious mind, which not all therapy and not all kind of psychology utilizes. But the way I think about it is this. When we're setting an intention, what we're fundamentally doing with psychedelics is we are directionalizing our unconscious mind. So it's often said in NLP or hypnosis trainings that there was a study done, I think in the 50s or the 60s, where they discovered that the conscious mind can hold between 5 to 9 pieces of information within our conscious awareness in any given moment, right? So they say 7 pieces of information on average, which is why phone numbers are typically 7 digits long, at least here in the States. They say, by contrast, that the unconscious mind can hold anywhere between 100 million to like a billion pieces of information in terms of other inputs and streams of information and data points that our unconscious mind is collecting but filtering out from the conscious mind. So That's a lot of information that your unconscious mind is constantly using and processing and navigating and sifting through. So, when we're going to take a psychedelic and we want to have some sort of an outcome or some sort of an experience, it's very helpful to directionalize and kind of orient where our unconscious mind's attention is going to help us to begin to kind of have more of that kind of experience. Now, here's the important thing I want you to understand about this. Does that mean that you're going to have a particular outcome when you set an intention? No, it does not. Now, I want you to think about it this way. What do psychedelics do? What do we know about the science of psychedelics? What do they do on a brain level, on a neural circuit level? Well, we know one of the things that they do is they create kind of an effect of crosstalk across different regions of the brain that don't normally talk together, right? So if different parts of your brain are talking together that normally don't talk together, that's fundamentally kind of an experience of chaos. In other words, there's an unpredictable, fluid, dynamic, constantly new, constantly changing brain pattern that's happening when you're on a psychedelic. So when you set an intention, there's no clear linear way that your brain is going to be able to give you the experience you want it to give you. But here's the thing. That's not the work we're up to with psychedelics. What we're up to fundamentally is learning how to leverage that chaos, that fluidity, to arrive at more intelligent ways of having what it is that we want to experience, whether that's healing or personal growth or spiritual growth or a connection to joy or whatever it might be. We're kind of leveraging the fluidity and the chaos and the depth of information that our unconscious mind has to get there in its own way, ways that we may not have consciously considered or thought about that might work. And that's really what intention setting is all about. It's all about calling on that deeper intelligence inside of ourselves that knows how to give us what we want in ways we've never even thought about and kind of send us in that general direction, right? So one thing I want you to understand about the unconscious mind, because as far as I'm concerned, working with psychedelics is an education and learning how to work with the unconscious mind. Now, if you don't like that term, you can think of it in terms of the nervous system, or you can think of it in terms of speaking to the deeper psyche, if you want to use kind of a more Jungian kind of thought about it. But however you want to think about that, I think those are all kind of synonymous in my perspective. We're learning to communicate with the deeper wholeness of what we are. And much of the way that the unconscious mind works and communicates is symbolically, is in feelings, in images, in impressions, in memories, in kind of related kind of networks of experience or thought or associations, right? So the unconscious mind isn't always going to linearly deliver exactly what we want to experience when we ask it to. It's going to give us perhaps some sort of an experience that calls upon what it is we want to experience or points us in that direction or kind of metaphorically answers what we're asking in a deeper, more nuanced, more complex way. And it's our job to really leverage that nuanced information and kind of take that as an accurate response of what our intention is. So I hope that makes a little sense, just in terms of how we're going about this. What we're doing is generally kind of engaging with a very deep, complex, dynamic system called the nervous system. And we are kind of just asking it to generally kind of steer us in a particular direction and letting it do what it's going to do in its own fluid, chaotic way. There's no such thing as a sure thing when it comes to getting an outcome or an intention with psychedelics. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you get, kind of what you need rather than what you thought you wanted. Sometimes you get what you wanted by way of some other whole experience that wasn't at all what you thought you would experience, and then somehow kind of over time brings you to where you wanted to be. So there's a whole deeper flow and dance and fluidity that happens when it comes to intention setting. So I want you to understand that. So what we're doing is we're just directionalizing our deeper systems awareness in a particular direction around a goal or an outcome or an experience and letting it do what it's going to do in the way it's going to do it. There's a little bit more I want to say about intention setting that I think is really important and really valuable that I just recently learned from a training I took, which is that I guess there's a bit of science here on which intentions produce which outcomes, which I thought was really interesting. So in terms of how to go about setting your intention, there are a couple things here I want to kind of tune you into. First of all, I think it's a great idea to boil down your intention to something very simple and kind of emotionally resonant and powerful for you. You want to boil down your intention to something that when you think it or you speak it, like stirs you up or gives you chills or feels resonant. You don't want to just be like, oh yeah, blah, blah, blah. Don't make an intention just kind of out of your head or out of your imagination or because you can't think of anything else. Take some time and spend a little time really kind of like soul searching and ask yourself, like, what do I really want? What do I really want to experience? What is it I want out of this kind of deep bungee dive into, however you want to think of it, spirit, the void, my own deeper psyche, however you want to think of that. What is it in this experience of letting go of my default state of consciousness and moving into a more expanded state of consciousness that I want out of that I'm hoping will kind of arise out of that whole process? And then you want to kind of boil that down to a simple phrase or simple concept. I have a client right now that I'm working with, and he came up very recently with the concept of authenticity. And it's literally one word, but for him, it holds a lot of meaning, a lot of impact, and a lot of symbolism and power behind it. And I thought that was such a beautiful example of a well-articulated kind of outcome or intention here. So try to boil down that intention to something really clear and concise and powerful and meaningful for you. And then there are a couple other things here. So again, you want to let go of the outcome after you've set the intention because you never know what you're going to get out of this chaotic dance, this chaotic process that you're a part of when you're taking psychedelics. Another thing is that when you're setting an intention, generally speaking, intentions that are like, I want to process, I want to heal, I want to change, I want to transform, I want to let go of XYZ, I want to there's the studies show that they are correlated with more difficult experiences. So just know if you're, taking psychedelics to heal, if you're taking psychedelics to figure things out or to let go of trauma or anything like this, these kinds of explicitly therapeutic kind of approaches and concepts, you're much more likely to have a difficult experience. You're much more, it makes sense if you're if you're directionalizing your mind towards pain, suffering, fear, trauma, what are you going to experience, right? Now, conversely, if your intention is something like, I want to have fun, I want to play, I want to feel closer to nature, I want to remember joy, something like this, right? Something kind of very lighthearted, open, and positive. Those are much more correlated with really positive experiences, interestingly enough. So if you want to have really positive, powerful experience, I think setting some sort of, again, a resonant, but also very positive, lighthearted, open-ended intention is going to serve you really well. Now, if you hear me say that and you have a bit of kind of, trepidation in terms of, well, how's that going to help me heal? If I'm just having a great time, aren't I then just doing drugs? What's the point of that? I'd like to remind you that the most powerful outcomes, the most powerful mental health outcomes in terms of depression, anxiety, sense of well-being, turning around, trauma, letting go of PTSD symptoms, these kinds of things are all correlated with mystical experiences, which are generally speaking, not always, but often profoundly big, powerful, positive experiences. Things like oneness with all life, connection with God, merging with the universe, letting go of a sense of self and becoming everything. These kinds of experiences are strongly correlated with better mental health outcomes. So if you want to heal and you want to transform your experience and you want to let go of some issue, I think it's probably better to be aiming yourself via your intention towards something very positive. and try to push into that experience of something radically enjoyable, blissful, healing, and ultimately transcendent. I think that's going to serve you best as an intention. In my own experience, I'll just kind of add my own kind of little commentary on the end here. My own experience is that, again, you're going to get the experience you're going to get because it's a complex, what's the word? Formula, let's say, right? It's a complex stew of different things going on, including your mood, your physiology, and what you've been eating. Yes, your intention, the phase of your life, the unanswered questions that have been stressing you out in the background of your mind that you're not even really thinking about, the media you've been consuming, your environment, all kinds of things, just how you're feeling that particular day. All of these things kind of factor in to create the unique experience that each trip is. So intention isn't the only piece, and it's not a guarantee, again, that you're going to have that kind of experience. But I do think it's useful in general to spend some time really, again, soul searching, coming down to a simple kind of phrase and kind of setting that as a way of directionalizing your unconscious mind. One more question just to kind of answer really quick off the top of my head here that I get a lot is, can you set more than one intention? My experience is that yes, you can. And oftentimes you'll set one intention and then you'll find that maybe there were other intentions you thought about kind of setting that you let go of, and all of them get met and fulfilled. And that's also possible too. But generally speaking, the more simple and clear the directions to our unconscious mind, the more likely that the unconscious is able to really come through and help us kind of tune in that direction. So I hope that helps a bit in terms of understanding why we set intentions in the first place, how to go about doing it, how they're useful, and kind of how to think about it. Because again, it's not a simple linear thing. It's not when I say it, it happens. It's a much more deep, nuanced, complicated thing than that. But again, they're still very useful. So I hope this helps. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.